Okay, so the questions that remain. This is almost correct. I could straighten this out a bit, but it's also like this part is pretty good. It's a little bit off. But how much off can it be? Because I gotta put tape, and then it's like, do I take this stuff off? Do I take this stuff off too? Damn. What do I do? Like, do I take? How do I put the tape? I'm supposed to put tape, and then if I put the replacement board in here, it'll have a gap about this big. It'll fit pretty good, and then all of a sudden, then that broke off. So like, what the heck, man? I gotta learn what I do with the edges.
That's pathetic. Why don't you let him parade you around in a dress and a tutu? That's not real strength, by the way.
I gotta look up what the hell is going on here. What do I do? Alright, I'll watch these 3 videos. What are those? Where's that wood? What is it going to? What was that all about? How is it so perfect? What? What is that being attached into? What? Huh? Well, what's it being attached into? Okay, so he... Okay, just drill it. What's he doing? He's making the hole bigger? Okay, so there is a little bit of a gap there. He doesn't put tape on it? He doesn't put tape there, he just kinda... So a little gap like that's not too bad, but... What's this? What is this? We'll never know. Oh, he puts one of these on top. What is it? Okay. Sponge it a bit. Smooth the edges. I'm just gonna try the spray. If the spray doesn't work, I'll... Some action shots. Alright. Well, while he's doing that, I got another cherry soda because I don't know if I'm gonna watch all this and then I'll figure out what I'm supposed to be doing, because it seems like I'm told to put tape on the sides. What happens if I have a little like crack like that big? Not talking about my ass or anything. Anyways, this is Jic Jac. This is another Orca beverage. Remember we had the zombie one? That one was Orca also. Smells like cough syrup. I don't know if my taste buds are destroyed, but this is very mellow. Kind of like a Starburst version. I don't think this is as good as Captain Ellie's, but it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. It tastes like kind of like cherry Starburst, but not even that. It's. I feel like the zombie one was had a twinge of sourness to it, and this one has like no twinge of sourness. Jeez. Oh, they're tarping it up? What's going on? What? He's doing the whole ceiling? Oh, come on. Oh, he's gonna spray it with the machine. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Oh. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Not bad. Let's see what give him a like. Let's see what else is going. Like, let's see if this old house, baby.
So you blaming your kids for this?
Absolutely. First I thought I might be able to tape it up and just replaster it and be done deal, but then I thought maybe I had to cut a rectangle around, put some more drywall up. At that point I just figured I was over my head.
Well, you're right about one thing. It's a ceiling, so it is over your head. Come on, let's take a look up in the attic.
Oh, that was a good one.
And here's what happened. I climbed up the attic stairs trying to go get the toy.
Yeah.
What I usually try to do is put my feet on the plywood. And when the plywood runs out, I'll put my hands on these collar ties here and put my feet on the joist.
Yep.
You just
I
get
walked
more
back
wood.
and got the toy, and I heard my kid scream, and I said, oh, I better hurry. So I started going back a little too fast, and I noticed right here, when I put my foot down, I didn't hit the joist.
You missed.
And I missed.
All right, so let's see. Take out this insulation.
It's so
There's
easy.
The damaged wallboard right
He makes it look so easy.
This one.
Just get some more
you can really
boards.
see the damage.
Why
Well, what
so
you have
cheap?
here, first of all, this is a 2x8 ceiling joist.
Yeah.
And they're 16 inches on center.
Yeah.
And they run from the front of the house to the back of the house, or rafter to rafter. Underneath that is this 1x3 furring strip, or strapping.
Strapping, baby.
Well, it's a couple of things. The electrician can use it to run their wires under the joist so they don't have to drill them. And the wallboarders fasten their wallboard to it.
So we're going to have to cut out the damaged wallboard and replace it?
No, we're going to re-secure the damaged wallboard.
Huh?
All right, what I want to do is I want to locate the strapping from down below.
Oh,
to do
finger.
that, simply
Put a Band-Aid
drill
on
a
that.
hole in the middle of the strapping,
What?
right through the ceiling,
What?
and now I can see that hole from down below.
What?
All right, let's see if we can see that hole. There it is. Now that hole is our first piece of strapping, and we know that it runs across the room this way.
Yeah.
Every 16 inches across the ceiling is another piece of strapping. Now what I've done is I've taken two pieces of plywood and I screwed it together because I want it to be really rigid.
What's with the holes? It almost looks like a piece of Swiss cheese.
Well, this row of holes right here represents the strapping above. This row of holes is 16 inches apart from this row of hole represents the second piece of strapping. Now what I want you to do is hold this up under the ceiling, but line up one of the holes with that hole in the ceiling. Alright, now what I did is I actually cut a piece of 2x4 to fit between the ceiling and the floor. And I'm going to use this to jack up that piece of plywood, pushing the wallboard up against the strap.
Huh?
Now I have another piece of plywood on the floor, so I don't damage the floor.
What the hell is he doing?
Okay, now I've installed a drywall tip in my screw gun, which will allow the drywall screw to countersink just at the right depth. I'm going to screw it right through one of the holes. Right, now we've screwed the wallboard to
This
the
isn't
strap.
the same.
Now we have to introduce some structure between the strappings so we can screw the wallboard to it. And I'm simply going to use a piece of 5/8 plywood. Before I put the plywood in, I'm going to run some construction adhesive on the top of the wall.
Oh, it's just cracked, so he's just putting shit on top of it.
A little plywood in. Push it around a little bit.
And then you just screw it into
The
that.
plywood fits under the joist loosely because it's a little bit thinner than the strap.
Okay.
We got one there. Okay, now a little over here. I'll take the next piece. Lay it in. Now a couple of shims under the joist. I'm going to sandwich it between the plywood and the joist, pushing the plywood down tight to the wallboard. Right, Kevin, you want to hold that plywood?
That still looks like shit.
Pretty good. We got some touch-up to do.
You got some touch-up
Now
to
using
do?
my hammer, I'm going to knock off any loose pieces, and then we'll be ready for joint compound.
Are you just gonna joint compound over it?
So the first thing I want to do is I want to take my compound, and I want to skim over the tape and the cracks lightly. Get a nice layer right over it. With the cracks and the screw heads covered, we're ready to apply the texture. To do that, I'm simply going to lay a little compound on my trowel, and I'm going to skip right over the ceiling.
Okay, so good job, old man. Does this work? No. Okay, how about
Today I've got a quick video for you to help you out if you've got your textured ceiling like a stipple and you've got a little bit of damage. Stipple ceiling is incredibly difficult to match texture, and anybody in the industry knows that if they're doing a professional job for you, the advice is always take all the texture off and retexture the whole ceiling. But as a homeowner, that's not always a viable option because it is messy and it costs a fair amount of money.
this might
So
be.
if you're like most homeowners, you're going to try to do a DIY approach. So I'm going to do two different kinds of scenarios here. Today I'm going to cover what happens if you have really bad staining. And that kind of staining can happen if you just have a little bit of moisture in your attic, or you've got rusty screws, or whatever else, right? If you've had moisture in your attic and you don't have a vapor barrier, your ceiling can get rust on it, and that's normal. Or if you have plumbing that has leaked above this ceiling, then this is the kind of condition you can get, and we can eliminate that really easily. The other situation we're going to deal with is if you actually had a hole. And in this scenario, what I've got is I've got an area scratched out and then the patched, and now it's been filled and sanded, and basically we did a California patch here. So we're going to also try to blend texture in this area as well. This is tricky because we have definitive lines. So I'm going to show you the two best options on the market for that, and I'll let you decide which one you think you want to handle. So today for the stain blocking, I'm using Bin Zinsser. I'm not using Kills because rust and Kills don't really work well together. This is a shellac, not just an oil base. It's guaranteed to seal anything that's causing that stain. So shake it, the devil out of it. And then we just give it a light 10 to 12 inches away, and then just a light coating. Okay, find all the details that are wrong here. This product leaves a yellow stain because the shellac is not a pure white. There's no such thing in the market. So if you're going to stain and seal like this, you're also going to have to paint. We're going to cover that information in another video. So today we're trying the new Homax product. This is a relatively new technology. I haven't actually done before, so I'm curious to see the results.
I got this.
Basically, the instructions are shake it like you mean it, and then when you hear the ball banging around, about another minute after that. This is a multi-part component, and they really want you to mix it in the can. So we'll be back in a second. I don't hear the ball yet. Switching hands. Oh, I hear the ball. All right, I'm stopping there before I give myself a concussion. we're going to take the tab and turn it to the right. And now product spits out of these two holes in the top. We're going to just try to start kind of in the middle area here a little bit and see. Okay, well that's a lovely blob. I think it's going to take a little bit of practice.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough to say that's not going to work. We're not going to ever use this product again.
Oh,
if you use it and you're successful with it, let me know in the comment section. But for me, if I have to shake it that hard and that's the result I get, I'm never going to touch it again. All right, here we go. This is just me trying what's on the shelf at the Home Depot, so you don't have to experiment in your house. That's what a studio's for, after all. Safe to say, if that texture works, you've got a serious texture in your ceiling. The next one is the polyfiller repair for wall and ceiling texture. I have used this before. It's not bad. So I'm going to show you how this works. Basically, you got to scoop out a chunk of this, put it in your paint tray. I know, it doesn't look like it's going to be very forgiving, does it? You're going to take your roller and you're going to just work it in. Now you can see when you put this on, that actually starts to look more like a ceiling, doesn't it? And if you have too much, you can roll it out. Now, this is not going to match your ceiling perfect. And you're still going to have to paint the ceiling when you're done. But it's a lot closer to the real thing. And if you don't want to get a bag of texture and put plastic walls all over your house and rent the machines and spray the texture everywhere, this, with a bit of practice, will start to look pretty good.
Okay, you didn't help me at all.
What's the difference between spackle and drywall mud? This is a surprisingly complicated question because a lot of it has to do with chemistry, and companies are constantly experimenting with a variety of hybrid formulas. But I don't think that the answer has to be that complex for the casual DIYer. So today, I'm going to give a real quick breakdown on how newcomers can approach these two products. And that's coming up next on The Honest Carpenter Show. So both spackle and joint compound are products that we use to cover blemishes or imperfections in both plaster walls and drywall. There is some overlap in their functionality though, which can make it confusing. So how do you choose which one to use for your wall repairs? Probably the best differentiator to focus on is scale. How big is the application that you need it for? Joint compound or drywall mud is a mixture of gypsum dust and water. This is the product that pros use to cover their tape seams and nail heads in new drywall installations. It comes in pre-mixed buckets, which can be troweled straight on the walls. Or it also comes in dry bag varieties, which you can mix with water to create whatever quantity you need. Most joint compounds dry very slowly. Once applied, they can take up to 24 hours or longer to dry enough so that you can sand it to a finish. For this reason, mud or joint compound is best used on large applications. Think drywall mudding whole rooms or even whole houses. The long drying cycle gives you plenty of time to work your way around a room without your product drying out. The smooth, creamy mixture is easy to apply, and it covers a lot of big imperfections. But joint compound does shrink quite a bit as it dries. This means that you generally need multiple coats to create a good surface. And there are even different varieties for first coats and subsequent topping coats. So that's how drywall mud works. Then you have spackle, which is a different product altogether. Essentially, spackle is for very small repairs. Think nail holes, little dents and gouges, even small cracks. Spackle gets confusing because there are tons of different mixtures out there, but they basically all break down into two categories. Normal spackle versus lightweight spackle. Normal spackle is sort of a wet, sludgy compound. It too typically contains gypsum dust, but it also has other binders in it. These make it dry out a little faster than drywall mud, typically 1 to 4 hours based on humidity. And it also shrinks less than drywall mud. It's more elastic. It's a little harder to work in trowel because it's gummy, but you can often get away with one coat of it, followed by some light sanding once it's dry. That's normal spackle. Then you have lightweight spackle. This stuff just looks different. It's white and fluffy and flaky. It sort of smears like grease when you spread it on walls. But it'll clog up small holes almost instantly, and it'll blend into white walls so well, you almost can't see it. Lightweight spackle is, in my opinion, the greatest product ever made for patching small nail holes and other tiny bits of damage. It's so light and easy to use that it requires no practice at all. Just clean out loose, tiny debris first. Then swipe lightweight spackle across the hole until you have a flush surface. That's it. Lightweight spackle also dries out really fast, in just about 30 minutes. And I've found that you can fill larger patches, in some cases even up to an inch, but you are going to have to use multiple coats and sand in between. That's for larger patches. But for smaller patches with lightweight spackle, you can sometimes skip sanding the repair altogether. A quick swipe over it with a wet knife will smooth it.
Okay, so I still don't know what to do.
How's it going, you guys? It's Scott with Everyday Home Repairs. Now I want to walk you through the complete process. If you walk into your home, maybe it's in your basement like where I'm at right now, or on your first floor, you look up the ceiling and you see this. Big old water spots, you don't know what's going on or where to start. So I'm going to walk you through the complete process because I need to get this fixed and figure out what the heck's going on. But then after cutting holes in the ceiling, I need to actually repair that, getting it back to looking like nothing ever happened. So let's jump into it. First, figure out where this water leak's at, but just know if you have an active water leak, I just have a drip going on now. If you have an active kind of gushing water leak, go shut off your main water
Right.
to make sure we don't have just another
Wow, his videos are way better than mine.
point coming up in a few months. So I use a jab saw and the vacuum to try to minimize the mess, and I'm going to cut it closer to those 2x4s there that support the ceiling, and you can see them here forming, and that's what we really want to remove. Now I made this little trolley or jig up which holds the vacuum and also has a little slot for my isolating tool that is 3/4 of an inch offset from the outside of the board. Why did I do that? Well, this gives me a perfect guide to cut right in the middle of that board, so we'll be able to secure the existing drywall, but also secure the new drywall that we'll be putting in for our patch. Now I'm just doing a little test section here, make sure everything's working out, and it looks pretty good, so I'll continue to progress. Let me know, do you think this is a good idea or a bad idea? Overall, after using it on this section, and then having it for future projects, I think it is pretty darn handy to be able to cut right in the middle of that board and not have any issues trying to freehand it. You're confident that you're going to get exactly right in the middle, which helps you secure your drywall as you're doing your patch.
Friggin' windy out.
And also having the vacuum right there, especially when we're doing a patch in our living space, really helps to reduce the mess. If you're not careful and you don't have a vacuum and you're just cutting drywall and then you go sand your drywall, you will have drywall dust all over all your furniture, your tables, your TV. So just be careful and take your time. So I will have to freehand the rest of this hole, opening things up, again using that vacuum as much as possible. And overall, things look pretty good. And I'm right down the middle of those studs, so it'll be easily to secure this patch. But if you don't have to go to that corner, which I did because I had water damage, don't. That will make it easier to mud if you're not dealing with the inside corner. Now I just have a new piece of 5/8 of an inch drywall here. I'm marking off 52 inches. Again, if you could do a 48-inch patch, that would be a little better. You might actually be able to get a small piece of drywall for your patch and not have all this extra drywall like I will. So you'll score it twice on the front side, and then you just go around to the back, knock your knee through it, and then that will break everything, and then just cut off the paper.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Then you just break it, cut your paper, and then you're good.
Huh.
So I'll take my patch down. For most of us DIYers, you know, we're gonna fit it in place and have a little interference. So I just temporarily secure that and then use my oscillating tool to cut off any of the interference, making sure we have a nice tight fit. But I wanted to make it as close as possible so I didn't have any large gaps.
No large gaps.
And then once we have that, we'll go ahead and sink our screws, trying to set the screws below the surface, but not break the paper. Now, you know I mentioned this ripped paper that's beyond our patch. So you can address that, but you need to cut out any of the loose paper. Don't leave any loose paper there or your patch is gonna bubble up and just not hold up to the test of time. Additionally, we need to prime this paper, and that is with a shellac, this 1 quart size, and you can see a link in the description which will have the rest of the tools and supplies I'm using. But just a simple coat here. It's very runny, so take your time. coat that, and then that will help the mud bond to this area. Now moving on to the mudding process, I'm just going to use this Ready Mix all-purpose joint compound. Don't forget, before applying it, we still do need to mix this up to make it more consistent and reduce the chances of air pockets, and it'll just equal a better finished product. Also, between each application, you're going to wait 12 to 24 hours depending on your conditions, so you want to make sure you clean off your tools completely and do not let the joint compound harden on your tools, which will make it more challenging for future applications. And then just for your reference, I'll be using a 6-inch drywall knife, 10-inch drywall knife, and then for the final cut, I'll step it up to a 14-inch and a 14-inch pan. But again, you'll be able to look below the video in the description. You'll see links to these tools and all the other supplies and tools we use
don't make
for
any
reference for your own
sense.
job. Kicking things off, we'll apply a little bit of the all-purpose joint compound here to the inside corner. Again, hopefully you don't have to do an inside corner, but if you do, it's not the end of the world. I just want to have a light coat filling in the gaps here around the corner.
You didn't use any tape.
And then once I have my light coat on, then I'm just going to take a piece of standard drywall tape, and pretty much all drywall tape will have that crease in the middle. You can crease it and position it into place, and then flatten it out, getting it to where you want it, and then apply a light layer on top of that tape to smooth things out. Now for this first application of the joint compound, I'm going as light as possible. I prefer not to sand between this application and my next application, which is also going to be the all-purpose. So I'm gonna go ahead and smooth things out.
Told you're looking for a driver. Alright, so this is a popcorn ceiling. That was on the ceiling. And we're gonna spray it with some kids spray. We should was there before. And as it go around. I've got too much on some spots, so I'm just moving it around on the ceiling. Believe me, with the naked eyes, this is looking real good.
What's the stuff he uses?
Trying to.
Show what it is.
Then we're gonna put the dry top of the kit, see outcome best we can do. A little bit more color since we had it more.
Roll on texture.
And see, I just had it just a drip, 2 drips on it, right?
Man. So all in all, this is pretty good. It just maybe the other one was trying to be sour. This tastes like it tastes pretty good. It's probably A tier. I don't know. Starburst.